Gurus do not condition the minds of their disciples by erecting walls of their own ideas. Instead, they point out the way towards untested waters for the learners to try out for themselves. In fact, they simply open and share their wisdom gained by accumulating knowledge and perfecting their skills, which makes them so experienced, mature, and sought after. Welcome one and all to this Teachers' Day special episode of Psychology Simplified, titled Gratitude to the Gurus, as a mark of my respect towards two of my esteemed gurus. Teachers' Day is celebrated on 5th of September in India, and today I have Ms. Neha Kathuria and Dr. Evelyn Rachel Thomas, who have been kind enough to express their views on some of the very contemporary issues affecting mental health of students and professionals alike. Ms. Neha Kathuria is a counseling psychologist with a master's in counseling and diploma in DMT from Tata Institute of Social Sciences. She is uniquely qualified for dance movement therapy, and her areas of specialization include child and adolescent counseling, queer affirmative counseling, gender and sexuality, and career counseling.
So, ma'am, what is the main reason that you're passionate about psychology?
So there are a lot of reasons actually, not just one. And one of the main reasons I would say was when I was a child, when I was looking for a counselor back then, when, I was just moving from my school to my college phase. I looked for a lot of people, I couldn't find anyone. And I opted for, like law course back then. I went to Bombay and came back. So there were a lot of issues that happened just in 1 month, 1 or 2 months. One, that I was directionless with respect to my career. Secondly, I was having a lot of adjustment issues. Thirdly, I was emotionally all drained while I was staying there. I came back and I thought, okay, what is it that I can really do, in general? So I opted for psychology honors in Jaipur then. And I think that's where the kick came in, that someone and I couldn't find anyone. Let me be that someone for a lot of other people. So that was one aspect. And secondly, my teacher, I think I also scored quite good in psychology back in school. So that really gave you that gives you, like in general, that gives you like a lot of high with respect to what you're good at,
Happiness
because back then. Indeed. And we were never given, aptitude test to take and everything. I think we just opted for subjects with respect to what we got in grade 10. That's how it used to be back then. There were no choices. Like if you're 60% and low, you'll have humanities, 60 to 80, you'll have commerce, 80 above, you'll have science. Like that, the segregation used to happen. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for answering that. I think we'll move on to the next question. What are the common problems faced by young adults in their developing years?
I really have like a long list, but I would focus on few right now, because
Sure.
otherwise we'll just go on and on for the entire day, right? And I think the first and foremost, I've recently also given a webinar where we spoke around body image issues. Like one major really plays that is body. Secondly, self-esteem, because of a lot of bullying in school, again, in ragging in college. This is like the time phase where they really face a lot of self-esteem concerns. Also, in India specifically, if I talk about, a lot matters on what your scores are, your entire personality, your aura, your characteristics will be built on how you are as an individual when it comes to your marks, intelligent, no intelligent. I mean, concept of intelligence otherwise is thrown out of the window, how we psychologists study, and everything just comes down to marks. And I think that's where specifically I really see like these two are major concerns. There are many more. People are having a lot of adjustment concerns. People are trying to fit in the criteria of other people. Also relationships. I think back again, when I'm going like 10, 15 years back, things were still like hush hush. Now it's all open. Parents are equally, understanding with respect to their children's relationship. Now the problem is not boy-girl relationship. Now the moved a little ahead and they're talking about, oh, I mean, no matter what, my child should not be queer, right? So I think a lot of things are happening. I have personally come across.
Then what are I'll move on to the next question. So what are the long-term health consequences of childhood trauma, and how does it affect a person?
Right. So again, Ajay, there are multiple types of trauma that we talk about, but majorly we categorize it into small t and big T, which is small trauma and big trauma. I have been talking about this in my previous webinars also, that, you know, a small t, for people's understanding, in a layman's language I'm explaining, it could be anything as simple as Sushant's, you know, suicide case, for example. You know, it's indirect. It's not directly there, but you are impacted, right? Now, big T would be, I mean, for his family, it's a big T. It's a big trauma because it's directly there, right? So when I'm talking about big T, small t, it could be with anyone. It could be anyone who can face it. Now, what kind of traumas can people face is child sexual abuse, domestic violence at home, substance abuse, substance use at home, broken families, relationship concerns. A lot of things are there. There's a big list again. What happens to these children if it's not processed? I think one, what we are really talking about here is mental illness, right? Your mental health gets affected. The first and foremost thing as an adult when you grow up. That's the major concern, and cause of which you can see how many other areas gets impacted. Then your relationship with other people. You would hold on to insecure relationship thinking, okay, who are you actually? You've never got love, or, you know, you face so much in life. Also, maybe you would just get into unhealthy relationship where you would just become a people pleaser, what we call, maybe into anxious attachment style, you know, like you are always in need of people. You always need people around to be touched, to be talked to, taking approval, seeking approval for everything that you do. So lower self-esteem.
That can create loads of stress as well in like children.
Indeed, indeed. And then fear of failure. There's a lot of fear attached to it as well. That where do I go? What do I do? What if? You know, a lot of shoulds and musts come in that we talked about. So as a growing, you know, child, I think thankfully we already had a lot of support system. But I still know a lot of people whose parents are working right now and they do not even have an idea what their children are going through.
I understand. Okay, we move on to the last question. What are the major life stressors of people that you have come across before Corona and during Corona?
Again, there are a lot of people who have approached. So I would directly move on. I think Corona has become more of a psychosocial issue now, right? I mean, it's pandemic to epidemic, and then it's just going on and it's not ending. So I was saying, like, before Corona, it was all about people where they were talking about specific concerns, like I have job issues, they were particularly talking about what their concern is. Right now it's so vague because people are so helpless. Like, you know, if there was a problem before Corona with respect to boss, they had family to talk to, they had other people to talk to, you know, chalo main friends ke paas jaake aaj vent out kar diya or something. Now when they come back home, they see stressor, you know, because the person sitting at home throughout the day is equally stressed, you know, frustrated to say specifically.
Cases are
then they're going
and all of that majorly.
Everything.
Yes, definitely.
Now it's moving from external to internal. Otherwise, it would go like, oh, I mean, if I talk about certain clients, they would have some internal concerns that gets projected outside. Now it's really impacting to and fro. So, you know, when we talk about transactional analysis, also how PSE keeps playing, you know. So with a lot of people, that's happening. Like everybody is either at C or P. I mean, A though is a far-sighted thought right now, and I understand because so many stressors are involved. So now there is no space. Like if I'm coming back home, I have a stressor there. When I'm going to work, there's a stressor there. So and meeting friends is like, again, a questionable state now. So where do I actually go and take it out? And how many counselors and, mental health professionals are there with each and every individual? Maybe they don't know of, or someone is not available in their city or,
Yes.
state. So everything has just got involved. And I think it's now vicious cycle. You take it from one place, you unload it at other, pick another baggage from there, unload it somewhere else. Maybe you're unable to unload also, depends on your personality. So
Definitely.
it's just going on and on.
So,
Yeah,
ma'am,
no worries.
which is the most effective coping strategy that you could recommend to people?
Rajit, so each to their own. I have come across in past few months, and specifically with respect to corona, even if I suggest a lot of things, probably they won't work. For example, if I say, go dance, or do this, do that, yoga, etc., won't really work. May not, again, because what people were doing earlier, if I would suggest, they would look for a class around and they would join it, and there would be a regularity. Now
Yes.
sitting at home, when they're doing yoga, probably a lot of people around them are talking, walking, so the inner connection is not happening.
Yes.
What they really are looking for. So I would say each one has something that they really like. First of all, I would say be comfortable of what is happening with you right now. I know it's difficult to accept. First and foremost thing comes in with acceptance, that there is
Yes.
something not okay with me, and it's perfectly okay to not be okay. That's the
Yes,
first thing
definitely.
that I would say. Secondly, seek help. There are a lot of helpline numbers, a lot of people who are providing free services. And if need be, I can give like a list of numbers. You can approach me, or you can approach Rajveer. I mean, to all the viewers, probably, that they can take that up and, approach. Depends on who's there in your city, or maybe who's there. Otherwise, you are more comfortable to speak to.
Yes.
Thirdly, I would say have someone at home whom you can immediately share, because I have also come across people who are getting anxiety attacks and panic attacks, at home these days, thinking about the uncertainty of COVID. So, someone to talk to, and if required, you can always explain them well in advance that this is what I feel, at times. So, psychoeducating the family is very, very important, I think.
Definitely.
It's
I
not
agree.
always about, yeah, it's not always about the person who's facing it, but also about people who need to understand what response they need to give. I mean, it can't happen that night may, if you get up and you're telling your family that I'm not feeling well, I'm feeling breathless, and they're like, "Ha, news dekhe mat soya karo." That can't be a thing,
Yeah,
We
exactly.
have heard so many people who have got that response. That we are watching news, that why it is impacting it's something really big. Exactly why I mean, there was a lockdown for a reason, right?
Definitely.
It wasn't just like anything. And anyway, person facing mental health concerns is facing a lot of I think there are a lot of emotions going on within. So I think by doing that, we are automatically adding up more. So for all the viewers, as family also, this would be a tip. Another thing, I mean, maybe small things that you like, as simple as doodling, as simple as writing, or say gardening, cooking, eating. I mean, eat a lot. It's okay. Just don't care about your weight right now. I mean, everybody's at the same state. I mean, do whatever keeps you happy, even if it's about
Exactly.
talking to people and seeking approval. It's perfectly okay. If you think that there's someone who, for that time being, soothes your soul, I think it's good to go.
That's perfect. So the thing that can help everyone is to be happy and try to be happy at
Indeed.
least,
Indeed.
whatever way it takes.
It does, and there's so many ways. I think it's a good time. I have personally looked at it a very good time for reflection. I know a lot of us have started questioning ourselves, sitting at home, ki kya ho raha hai? Oh, is it me? But I think that reflection is taking you somewhere. Maybe it's either getting you out of a toxicity from some or the other area, or maybe helping you evolve as an individual when you see there were certain things not going wrong. So either way, you are a win-win.
Definitely. Okay, so we end it here. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your views on the questions.
Thank you so
And
much.
it was a great conversation. And I learned a lot, definitely. and many of your points were very useful. So thank you so much.
Another illustrious guru to whom I feel grateful is Dr. Evelyn Rachel Thomas, a counseling psychologist with her master's in clinical psychology from IIS University and PhD from Manipal University. She has been quite respected by her patients at the mental health clinic where she practiced under the supervision of the celebrated psychiatrist Dr. Anil Tambi. She rendered her services in the capacity of a school counsellor at Maharaja Savai Mansingh Vidyalaya and Delhi Public Schools.
I'm really intrigued to know what inspired you to be a counselor.
This is a very good question. When I was doing my so I used to read a lot of Reader's Digest. So
Yes.
as you know, Reader's Digest contains a lot of issues or content which deal with mental health or peer pressure or these issues which we normally face in day-to-day life. So reading that and going through that, I came to know about a concept called that counselors are helpers, and they are professionals who deal with individuals and solve their problems. So that
They indeed are.
took me.
They indeed are. I agree with you.
Yeah, okay. So that was something which inspired me to become someone who is interested in solving others' problem because I myself was a victim of bullying in school. So I was not in favor of, suffering as a
Yes,
school student.
definitely.
So I wanted to do something which inspires others also to help others. It was
Yes.
just a cause of helping others. That's it. And feeling like relate or anything which we can relate to each other. So psychologist or being in psychology field was one of the best option. I thought it would be
To
helpful for
help
me
people
in
and to
future.
help others, basically.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to our next question. And that is,
Right.
what are the major counseling skills that people should possess to become great counselors?
Okay. See, theoretically, because there is no experience as a I am an experienced counselor, but still, it is very this is science. Okay, it's a field of science, so we
Yes,
have to follow certain scientific model to practice as a professional. So, as
definitely.
per ethical guidelines of a counselor, there are certain skills which are like required for a
For a
in
professional.
the field of psychology, be it be a
Yes.
student or be it be after, yeah, profession. So,
Yes.
one of the most important thing is empathy. You have to practice empathy. That is one of the major and important core skill in counseling profession. Before like without empathy you cannot relate to the other person's state of mind or his mental health, understand their mental health. So first rule is, if person's
It is.
problem or issue, you have to step in his shoes to understand his state of mind to
Yes.
better intervene his problem. The second most important thing is transparency, transference. Like sometimes in empathy, in the process of empathy, you
Yes.
get carried away emotionally.
Because it's
But
emotionally
as
driven.
a
Yes.
yeah, it's a very common tendency, natural tendency for everyone. When we hear something very sad, get carried away emotionally. So, being a professional counselor, you have to avoid this transference. Transference is the feeling of that same emotion that the client is facing or the other person is facing. So, in order to be a better counselor, you need to help them rather than to make them dependent on you. So, to avoid
Yes.
this conflict, uh, this conflict, it is better to avoid transference in counseling. counseling. So this is one of the
Yes.
skill to
So
avoid
there should
transference
be
and become
transfer.
professional.
Yes. So there should be some
Yeah, yeah.
transfer.
You should be, yeah, you should be very much clear in your task while handling another person's emotions. Like you
And the
should be
boundaries.
transparent in your method or in your communication in order to avoid transference. Okay. The third most important thing is confidentiality. You
Yes.
need to maintain confidentiality because we as a human being we are told that
We are social animals.
discomfort, right? But when we count, yeah, and as a human being, we are social. Okay, be introvert or extrovert, we try to share everything with someone. Okay, so when we practice this kind of profession where we are dealing with someone who is telling us his life problem, so we take all the negative energy, all the negative aura which he is facing, and we absorb it in ourselves. So in order to you know uh, of feeling overwhelmed or feeling pressurized, what we do is we maintain confidentiality that this person's problem is in our cubicle only, and we have to maintain the rule of short-term memory loss that whatever he has said, this is not bouncing back. We just have to retain it and complete it there itself.
And just
Don't
diagnose
leave this thing
them and
outside the
forget
room.
it, kind of a thing.
Yeah, yeah. The other things are you need to be kind as
Yes.
and grounded in your profession. No one is God in your profession, or no one is perfect counselor. There is nothing such as perfectionism in counseling. If you are coming to me as a client, I cannot say that I will solve your problem for eternity. It's
Yes.
not like that. You have to be grounded, you have to be realistic, and you have to, be kind to yourself. You don't have to get so overambitious that I can do anything now being a counselor and I can, brainwash and I can just swipe his mind away and make him someone else that he's not. Don't have
That's
to do like that.
impossible technically.
So these are some of the yeah. So these are some of the key skills which are required for a counselor to start as a fresher, or even if he's experienced, he has to maintain these skills within him or her.
That was a really good answer. We'll move on to the next question, which is
Thank you.
what sort of
Yeah.
challenges do mental health counselors face? So, what kind of challenges
Hmm.
do counselors face in a way?
See, it is related to the skills which I told you before.
Yes.
The first of the challenge is the first major challenge is counter transference. That is really a technical term. When we are taught, challenge we are taught is the counter transference, and as a practitioner I've experienced that too. It's not like that we just study it and we retain it and we are not able to feel it.
Yes.
Sometimes in our age group, or we perceive others as a parent's age group or someone's as a sibling. It can be anyone we relate to. So
Yes.
we tend to connect our emotions with the patients or the
Yes.
clients. So counter transference is something which every counselor faces, okay? But it can be overcome by your uh, repeated practice of maintaining or avoiding transference by restraining yourself to your professional grounds. Okay.
Yes.
The second challenge is multitasking. That too, it means ambiguity, role ambiguity. I
Yes.
can say with a better way, role ambiguity. In India, particularly, when we are working as a counselor somewhere,
Hmm. Yes.
task which requires proactiveness and which require our outside expertise also. Apart from a counselor, you have to take up certain administrative tasks of that organization or that particular role. It's
Yes.
not that you are just handed over the client and you have to just follow the counseling. You have to take up each and every documentation, his or her reference part. You have to maintain everything related to that client.
So the
So
patient history
uh,
and everything should be maintained by the counselor as well.
if that client, yeah, the
Yes.
documentation maintenance is one of the integral part of a counselor. So but what happens is we are preoccupied with many of the cases in a day. So this also is one of the challenges, but it can be also overcome by time management or our own efficiency as a person,
Yes.
how you are tackling it. Okay.
Yes.
The frequent third most challenge the time of counseling or the job. If your job is 9 to 5, as some as a, like it's like doctors, they work from particular time, engineers they work for particular time, but counseling is basically client or service based job. Okay,
Based.
it is based
Yes.
on the client's need, right? So you have to be extremely patient and proactive while it comes to the session and counseling of clients. You have to make sure that even if the client requires 15 minutes of your time extra,
Hmm.
you have to spare that time because that person is suffering. You cannot stop him at the 5 o'clock time that, oh, okay, my work hour is over, you can go. I will not counsel you anymore.
That would be
You
rude.
can reschedule it. Yeah, it will be rude. So we have to be extremely patient and we have to think that you are doing this job as a counselor. So you are responsible and accountable for your client. So time also is one of the major factor when we are working, we living with the family or responsibilities also. So this thing is also one of the major challenges that counselors face. So that all, we become adaptable as the years go by,
You
and we
have to.
learn to manage all this.
Yes, definitely. Adaptation is the key to success.
Yes. So
Well,
these are the major challenges that I came across in my experience and what I've heard from my colleagues as well.
yes, definitely. I mean, it's common among many people, I would say. So, and one more, the last question for today is that what is the eligibility criteria
Yeah.
or the minimum qualification required to become a practicing counselor according to the Mental Health Act,
Hmm.
Mental Health Care Act 2017-18? So, what all should be
Okay.
kept in mind? Like, if I'm a
Hmm.
psychology student and I have to become a counselor, so what
Hmm.
degree or what course should I pursue then?
Okay. As we all know, there are certain roles in psychology, more than 100, I think. But we have what in India, it's a common practice is there are three categories of psychologists here. One
Yes.
is the counseling psychologist, second is a clinical psychologist, and third is the psychiatrist. I'm
Yes.
saying in terms of psychology field. Okay.
Yes.
So, a psychiatrist is a MBBS person who prescribe medication for your problem, mental health,
Yes.
right? And a clinical psychologist requires an MPhil
Yes.
after your masters and graduation. Okay. And it is only when you receive a license from Rehabilitation Council of India you can practice as a clinical psychologist,
Okay.
and that is a 2-year degree.
Yes.
It's a professional course, and after masters, pursuing masters, you become eligible for MPhil, and after 2 years, you can become a licensed clinical psychologist, and you
Psychologist.
can work in a uh, hospital setting or a you can create your you can establish
Yes.
to provide therapy and counseling services. Okay. uh, so what the third is most confusing is counseling psychologist, because counseling psychologists here in our Indian scenario, we work in corporate, we work in with doctors, assisting doctors,
Yes.
assisting clinical psychologists, and third, we work in schools. Okay, so for
Yes.
this basic thing, if you are working in after masters, postgraduate diploma in counseling and guidance by NCRT,
Okay.
then you are eligible to become a school counselor and
School.
train adolescents or provide life skills in school. Secondly, second type is in corporate. Like you understand that in corporate also we require organizational psychologists,
Organizational psychologists and
but here
counselors.
it is called counseling psychologist,
Counselor.
consultant
Yeah.
counseling psychologist. Here we
Consultant.
don't tell them organizational. There are social them as consultant psychologist or consultant counseling psychologist. For that, they require masters in psychology followed by doctorate, PhD, or any uh, PG postgraduate diploma in counseling and guidance from any university. Okay. Then the third most common is clinical psychologists need assistance by associate or consultant psychologists who are like there are levels, right? Clinical meet the client first. Okay, we
Yes.
take the general issues, we consult their problems, and then we refer them for therapy for clinical psychologists or for testing, psychological testing. So those type of psychologists who are working with direct client based, generally they can work with any setting, but they only require masters. Their minimum criteria is masters in psychology, any specialization, be it be counseling, clinical, or organizational psychology, anything from any reputed university, followed by any certified course or diploma course which is defining your specialization. Like if you're taking family therapy, art therapy, you have done diploma in any other dance and movement therapy, you can
Yes.
practice that to deal with the problem. So these are the major specialization that we have to take account. But minimum criteria to become a psychologist is masters in psychology, deemed university or any university which you are getting your degree from. You have to be a postgraduate to become a practitioner, to become employed.
That was quite informative, and it was a
Thank
great
you.
answer again. So, thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your thoughts with us.
I feel gratitude towards my gurus, teachers, mentors, and guides whom I have subconsciously attracted in my life. And some may be completely unaware that we are learning from them, and others may know. But the truth is, whenever possible, we should let them know how much we revere and respect them. I'm sure you benefited from my gurus in Psychology Simplified today. Toodles!